Excuse me. Okay, it is 9 o'clock. We'll call the meeting to order. Welcome everybody this morning. And before we start, could we please rise if you're able, and we'll take a moment of reflection. Before we begin, we have regrets from Councillor Hutchison. He has had some illness, so we wish him a speedy recovery, and he's extremely thankful that he was able to get medical attention at the Durham Hospital. He's been down to emerge twice in the last week, so he won't be joining us even by virtual. Not feeling up to it yet. Number 3, any declaration of pecuniary interest from any member? The general nature thereof. Okay, seeing none, can be declared at any time if it does arise, of course. And that brings us down to number 4. We do have a delegation this morning. And that delegation is from the St. Marine Coptic Orthodox Church. And I believe we got Father Anthony and Father Moses and Bishop Nino. Thank you. I'll get there yet. 2 out of 3 wasn't bad. I got the Moses and the Anthony part correct. Thank you very much, gentlemen. And I'm going to say the floor is yours because we are recording. And because we are recording, before you start, I'm going to ask staff member Ashley to please give the audience out there how they can participate in the meeting. Ashley, my mistake.
Thank you. And through you, Mayor Eccles, before I begin, at any point, if you get disconnected, you can dial 1-647-558-0588 and enter the ID for this meeting, which is 891-5626-2480. Both members of council and staff have been briefed on the various features of the Zoom meeting software and will be raising their hands physically to speak. For members of the public, if you require any technical assistance, please send a chat message to myself, Ashley Noble, Communications Coordinator, and I will attempt to assist you. It should be noted for members of the public that this meeting is taking place across 2 meeting platforms, both on Zoom as well as being live streamed on YouTube. Public participation, if any, must be done through Zoom and cannot be done through YouTube at this time.
Thank you, Ashley. And with that, gentlemen, if you can please, so we've got the microphone and whatnot to be able to record. Ask you to, take the microphone. I get caught on that a few times, figuratively speaking.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, and good morning, dear councillors. I do thank you on behalf of His Grace Bishop Mina. I really thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak with you this morning. We have been here before, and we have realized that we haven't done a good job at explaining to you and to the public and to the potential neighbors what the Coptic Orthodox monasticism is all about. So we're going to take the next 10 minutes to give you a brief overview of the Coptic Orthodox Church in the Diocese of Mississauga, Vancouver, and Western Canada, and exactly what we'd hope to establish here in West Grey. We do have a presentation that maybe if we can have it up, we'll go through it together. This way, it's more concise. Yes, thank you. So if we can scroll to the next slide, please. We are very proud of the heritage of the Coptic Orthodox Church. Monasticism in the entire world was established by Saint Anthony the Great in Egypt, and the monastery of Saint Anthony in the Red Sea area of Egypt is the oldest monastery in the world now. So this is a heritage of establishing monasticism, not just in Egypt, but throughout. And since the 3rd century till today, monasticism has been thriving. With the busyness of life and the distractions of the world, more and more Christians, devout Christians, are looking at monasticism as a way to focus more on their spiritual life, away from the distractions of the world. So over the last few years, many monasteries have been established in different parts of the world, including Europe and North America and everywhere else. So that's something that we are very proud of, and we firmly believe that this is something that we will continue. The Church, the Coptic Orthodox Church, will continue to invest in monasteries as a way to provide a special way for those who want to live a life of solitude away from the business of life. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, the objective of monasticism is to really focus on one's spiritual life, to take yourself away from the world completely and devote your entire life to worship and prayer. This is a very unique path, not suitable for everyone. So that's why the number of monks and nuns who accept this calling is very few. I give an example of the convent, the Coptic Orthodox convent in Paisley. It was established 7 years ago, and up to date, we have only 3 nuns. So it's a very select number of people that would accept this path and dedicate the rest of their life for that. The focus is really for the monks and the nuns to focus on their own spiritual life, to gain virtues, especially the 2 virtues that we feel are very essential in the life of any Christian, which is humility and love. The capacity to love God, and through that, the capacity to love others as well as oneself. So these are the things, the virtues that monks focus on during their canon, prayer canon that they have. Next slide, please. Just a brief overview of the diocese. His Grace Bishop Mina was assigned as the Bishop of the Diocese of Mississauga, Vancouver, and Western Canada back in 2013. Through His Holiness Pope Tawadros II, our Patriarch and Pope. Currently, we have 29 churches throughout this diocese. We have 45 priests, with Father Moses and my weakness as 2 of them. We have 1 convent in Paisley. That's the one in Paisley. We have 1 monastery in Alberta, and we have 2 retreat centers, 1 in Ontario and 1 in Manitoba. So this is really an overview of the diocese itself, to give you a perspective of who we are. Next slide, please. What happens in a Coptic monastery? I'll use the well-known real estate statement that says real estate is all about location, location, location. In a monastery, it's all about prayer, prayer, prayer. So the main focus of what happens in a monastery is prayer. Every monk would have a prayer canon, and they would pray individually as well as together in unison. While the main focus is prayer, obviously, to fight off boredom, monks, as part of the routine, have to also do some work so that they are not fought through boredom. So the typical tasks that they would do as living on the monastery would be woodworking, farming, raising animals or breeding animals, iconography, tasks that would allow them to experience other skills that they can develop over time, and also would complement their prayer routine. So the other thing is, I want to make sure that we understand that those monks have left the world for solitude. They do not want the world to come to them. So it's very important for us to understand that the scope of a monastery is to be isolated, is to be as far away from urban centers as possible. Visits are not allowed unless they are approved by the monks or the abbot of the monastery. And visits are prohibited actually for more than 50% of the year during major fasts. The Coptic Orthodox Church fasts 268 days of the year. So during these fasts, visits to the monastery or the convent are restricted totally. Even when they are not restricted, so away from those times, visits are not allowed for walk-ins. People who want to visit the monastery would have to call and get the approval of the abbot of the monastery to come and visit. So it's very restricted and very controlled. It's not a service that's open to the public. The other thing is, in order for us to allow youth to understand what monasticism is all about, we allow certain youth who see themselves as potential monks in the future to come and spend some time with the monks to see firsthand how monks live, what do they do, so that if this is a calling for them, they are more convinced that this is truly what they want, as opposed to trying to preach it verbally without them having an actual hands-on experience. Next slide, please. Yes. How can a Coptic monastery benefit the community? And we're going to talk about the convent in Paisley and how we have developed an outstanding relationship with the neighbors of the convent. But really, the usage of the property will remain the same. We have no intention to change the intended usage and the approved zoning of the parcel of land in any way, shape, or form. Everything we'll do locally, so there will be hopefully local use for labor if there is a need for labor to help with farming. Again, monks are expected to farm, but they are not born farmers, so their knowledge and their skills in farming is not as good as definitely local farmers here. We, in terms of supplies or material or equipment, everything will be sourced locally. So again, the intent is to benefit the community through the existence of the monastery here. We will certainly invest in landscaping. This is something that we properties that are owned by the diocese, we treat them as properties for life. We don't sell monasteries, we don't sell convents. So we take very good care of properties that are owned by the diocese, and that's why I think people will be very impressed with how much we invest in the property to make sure that it's up to date. Next slide, please. I wanted to take a few minutes to differentiate between a church, a retreat center, and a monastery or a convent, because people may be confused about what each of them entails. So a church, we always look for urban locations when we're looking to establish a church, similar to the church that I serve in Burlington, or the one that Father Moses serves in Windsor, central to the city, urban, easy to access by the congregation members, close to where people live. That's really the focus of where we look to establish a church. A retreat center is the next level. So outskirts of urban centers, easily accessible, but still a little bit far away from the church. And monasteries and convents are as far away from urban centers as possible. We try to make it a further distance so that, again, we maintain the isolation that we're hoping for, so that people are not feeling that they are too close and thinking that this monastery is the equivalent of a church. They can come by anytime and then they can pray. We certainly focus on the solitude, or else we would be defeating the whole purpose of monasticism. Next slide, please. In terms of the services that are offered, obviously in a church setting, we offer all kinds of services. So children's services, senior services, meetings, Bible study, liturgies, frequent liturgies, because that is really the center, the core of services, spiritual services that we offer to our congregations. That's the main location that we offer these services. So that's why we look for complexes that allows us to have as many of those services as many times and as many days of the week. Most of our churches are open from 8 in the morning or 6 in the morning till 11 at night every day. And there are services happening in them all day long. In terms of retreat centers, again, as the name entails, these are groups that go spend usually the weekend in the retreat center in a setting that allows for them to have certain meetings, but also away, again, a little bit away from the busyness of life. And these retreat centers usually serve our own congregation as well as everybody else. So these are open to the public for those who want to go and spend a weekend in a retreat setting. These are available to everybody. Monasteries and convents are exclusive for prayer and services for the monks and the nuns, with few services open to select guests by invitation or by approval only. So definitely very secluded, very private, not accessible by everybody, and that's by design. So it's important to understand that this is really the essence of what a monastery and a convent is. Next slide, please. Which this translates into the number of congregants or visitors. Churches, very high. Again, we want everybody to show up to church. So we would like every single member of the congregation to show up. So that's why we design our churches to have a high capacity to allow for growth. In case of retreat centers, medium, because again, the usage is specific and unique. And we don't have many of those. We try to put them to use as best as we can for youth retreats, high school retreats, servants, but medium accessibility. Monasteries and convents, very low number of visitors. As I said, Paisley is a huge parcel of land with only 3 nuns living there, and very select visitors that come every now and then to kind of visit, mostly high school girls or university and college girls and ladies. So very low attendance, very low number of people living on premise, and very low number of people visiting as well. Next slide, please. That's why the required space, as I mentioned, large, complex for churches that include church nave, bookstore, classrooms, daycare, meeting rooms, large banquet halls, large commercial kitchen, a gymnasium, and in some cases, in some churches, we have also added an adjacent seniors home to be able to serve seniors of our congregation as well. So we try to make the church setting or the complex the place for all kinds of services. I call it, I always tell my congregation, from cradle to grave. We try to service every one of our congregation members from the day they are born through their baptism and everything else to the way when they depart. For retreat centers, when we look for a retreat center, we're looking for meeting rooms, a building or a property that has meeting rooms, overnight accommodations, and sports and recreational facilities to cater to those who want to go away for a few days, 2 nights or so, or over a weekend, to have some meetings, but also enjoy a quiet and peaceful time. For monasteries and convents, the focus of what we would be looking for is accommodation for a few monks and nuns, accommodation for a limited number of visitors during certain approved times of the year, a small chapel for them to pray in, a small workshop, large agricultural land, and lush landscaping. These are if we are ever looking for a place, this is really what we would be looking for. Last is what would be a closest, for those who are not familiar with any of the 3, what would be the closest in terms of the structure of the building or the facilities. Municipal Recreation Center would be the closest to a church. They would have meeting rooms, they would have a gymnasium, they would have, the only thing is we don't have swimming pools in our churches, but maybe one day we will, we don't know. For a retreat center, the closest would be a convention center or a hotel. where you would go spend a weekend, and also they would have meeting rooms. For a monastery or a convent, we found that the best description is group home for the accommodation of the monks and something similar to a bed and breakfast for accommodation of the visitors. Mind you, when we have visitors over in a monastery or a convent, we don't charge them. It's not a for fee service. So, but that's the closest, I guess, to what you would certainly see outside. Next slide, please. The next few slides are pictures of the Christmas gatherings that we have every year for our neighbors in Paisley, close to the convent. These pictures are taken inside the convent, the nuns' convent. We invite all our neighbors to a Christmas gathering. We've done it since 2017, but unfortunately stopped during COVID and haven't resumed yet, perhaps this year, God willing. But it shows that we truly value our neighbors. And I'm not saying that we wouldn't be doing this after the fact if we didn't mean it. So when I say we truly value the neighbors, our neighbors, and we care about what they want and how they feel, we truly practice that. And I have sent 2 videos, testimonials from 2 neighbors of the Paisley convent, to talk about, did they understand what a convent was before it was established? And now that they understand, do they have any concerns or reservations? So hopefully council may have seen these videos, but if you haven't, I encourage you to see them. So 2017 was the first year we've had this. If I can get to the next slide. That's again 2017, maybe the next slide as well. 2018, see the number of neighbors growing who are attending and participating. And again, I have to say, it's not a one-way street. We truly have a wonderful relationship with our neighbors, and they as well have developed an amazing connection to the convent. With only 3 nuns there in the middle of winter, many times they have been in the need of somebody to come and help them get out when they are buried in snow. Neighbors would absolutely step forward when they needed to go to the hospital. Neighbors were there all the time. This bond of love is something that we truly believe in. We are there because we are expected as Christians to be the light of the world and the salt of the earth. So it is very important for us to have this is an objective for us, to have an amazing relationship with our neighbors. We can go to the next slide. I think the next one is 2019. So again, you could see the neighbors gathered as well. Okay. I think I'm up in time, so I want to conclude by saying when we came to look at West Grey, we did this not haphazardly. We did not focus on West Grey haphazardly. We were really looking for the best place that would fit our Coptic monastery, our future Coptic monastery. So we've done this with conviction, and after studying all options, we know and have validated that a rural setting is the perfect fit to the scope of services of a Coptic monastery and of the intent of the existing zoning, similar to what we've done in Paisley. We are confident that this is the place for future monastery. We respect and appreciate our neighbors, our future neighbors, and we have every intention to make sure that the relationship with our neighbors will be pleasant, will be respectful, will be based on love and respect. And at the end of the day, we do our homework and we leave everything else in God's hands. That's our mandate, is to do our part and let God take the rest. Do our best and let Him do the rest. So I do thank you on behalf of His Grace Bishop Mina for the time today. And as I mentioned at the beginning, we probably should have approached this differently the first time around, and we apologize for our lack of understanding of what should happen, but hopefully we've learned, and hopefully we're approaching it in a better way this time. We have called the potential neighbors to an open meeting tonight, where we will cover the same content, listen to their feedback, and make sure that we explain to them everything. We hear their questions, we answer their questions. So again, this time around, hopefully we're doing it the right way to get to the outcome that we're hoping for. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you very much, Father Anthony, for that in-depth description of the Coptic monastery. Usually, but any questions from council? That was Councillor Shea. Jeff?
Thank you, Mayor, and thanks for the presentation. I just wanted to comment that I did watch the videos, and they were very positive in nature, and the neighbors seemed to express a very good relationship with the facilities next to them. So I just wanted to share that because I don't think everybody here was able to see the videos.
Thank you, Councillor. Appreciate it.
Anything else? Just a couple of, just the one thing about the pool. We're working very strongly on getting the Barney Pond back up and going and whatnot. So yeah, it's not that far away.
Okay.
In the center of West Gray.
Okay. If you can also talk to Mayor Mary Ann, that would be great so that I can put a pool in our church in Burlington. That would be great. I know you know her very well.
Yeah, that's big city stuff. We're just a little rural. We're just a little rural municipality. We're going to stay out of Burlington at this point in time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Anyways, thank you very much, Father Anthony, for that presentation this morning. Okay. Moving on, public meetings. We have no public meetings at this point in time. Comment period. We're open for comment period on the procedural bylaw. For anybody that wants to speak on anything that is on the agenda this morning, 2 minutes. Sir, if you could use the microphone, please. And just for the record, introduce yourself.
There. Okay. My name's Rob Lyon. I'm a consultant. I 6 years at University of Guelph, blah, 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 senior analyst for a number of things. Anyway, this was turned down in February. Why are we actually allowing a rerun of exactly the same thing? Because he just finished stating that he fully intends to establish a monastery here. It doesn't make any sense in process. The process is if you lose, hi there. I'd like you to pay attention. Thank you. If you lose, then you have a process to appeal, not to do an end run, which is what this appears to be. There's no mention in any of his presentation about the graves for the black slaves that died and that are buried somewhere there. I asked that they do ground penetrating radar. That never made it into the comments that you did. Fortunately or not, I was in Cairo when I woke up on Sunday morning. Last week I was in Egypt for the whole weekend. The Coptic church there are iconoclasts where they defiled all the tombs, put graffiti all over everything. They didn't really have a whole lot of respect for any other religion. And I was offended by it there. They tombs of Ramses II, the guy who built the biggest pyramid, they graffitied his entire tomb after it was looted. Maybe not by them.
This has nothing to do with the agenda today, sir. So
well, it's something to do with the Coptic church. Let's get back to the taxation. If they're planning on doing the monastery, then the taxation goes to 0. That changes and affects all of the people in the area.
Monastery will be part of it, but there's a lot of the property that still will be.
That means a full
exempt.
process and a full change, which they lost at. Why are we even discussing it now? It makes.
We're not discussing it now. They were just here telling us today about what the Coptic monastery is. And what you're talking about is an application, and we have no application in front of us. The Planning Act does allow for an application to come in to be, and if and when the application was to come in, it would have to be different than what was applied and turned down.
Fully different?
Different.
The value of the property in that area is roughly 35,000 an acre for good farmland, which runs out to about 875 for the full 25 acres. But it's local myth or legend that it's being sold for a great deal more. It makes you want to ask questions as to why, because it doesn't make any sense. Why would anybody pay 2 to 3 times the value of land to put in a monastery?
That's not a question that I'm even going to entertain.
How can you have this where they clearly state they're going to fully intend to put in a monastery, but they haven't put an application in? Why are you entertaining
It was through their delegation
22-minute
today,
diatribe about?
and for the same reason that, yes, they went slightly over, and I've allowed you to go slightly over on this at this point in time. But, unless you have something that's going to be on the agenda, I think I've entertained you substantially already.
Okay.
And if there is an application comes forward, and it is accepted that it is different than what it is at the present moment, then you'll have the opportunity to discuss that at an open public meeting.
Okay. How different is different?
I'm going to let our senior staff planner make that determination.
Okay. Good enough.
Okay.
Looking
Thank
forward
you.
to seeing it.
Anyone else? Ashley, anybody online? No? Okay. That's it for comment period. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, sir.
My name is Jack Beamish. I live just east of the said property, and I have concerns that we're going the same route that this was rejected. And the community is residential and it's agricultural. And it doesn't matter whether it's a monastery or a Tiddlywinks club. If it's going to be changed to institution, we don't want it. It doesn't fit the plan. The property is only 25 acres. There are tons of secluded 100-acre parcels in West Gray that are for sale in the paper. And I just can't see that we're going down the same route. If we had lost this vote through municipal council in the first place, we had to appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal and spend a bunch of money. And now we're just starting all over again. So I'm totally against that. I'm not against a monastery. It just doesn't fit that property or the community. Thank you.
We'll be given the opportunity if and when it comes forward. Okay, anyone else? One more.
My name is Manny Diaz. I'm the neighbor across the road there. As far as my knowledge goes, when they applied for to get it rezoned, this is all nothing to do about the monastery or anything else. As far as I'm concerned, it's about the rezoning. The rezoning failed. I'm not sure why I'm here losing time or why anybody is here upon that purpose. If they continue to build a monastery, it still fails.
Thank you. I think I've been pretty liberal in allowing this. Comment period is for things that are on the agenda. This was a delegation, not necessarily on the agenda, and we're getting into planning, rezoning and whatnot that is not on the agenda here. As I said, if there is an application comes forward, there'll be the same process will be followed. If the application is accepted, that it is different from the one that was turned down. And I think the Coptic monastery, the Coptic priests understand that, the fathers understand that, have been talking with planning already. So it has to be a lot different if it is going to be reapplied for. Okay. All right. Anyone else on Ashley? Nobody online? Okay, done with comment period. Unfinished business, not aware of any. Jamie? Adoption of the minutes. I believe we have the minutes of the regular council meeting from April the 16th and the minutes of the special council meeting. Any motion for each one? Yep, we'll do them together. I think we've got that. Deputy Mayor Hutchison moves that. Councillor Noon, second. Thank you. Any errors or omissions on those minutes? Up excellently. Okay, no questions. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you. The committee and board reports, the minutes from the Westgrade Police Services. I think it come out on the agenda is April the 15th, but they should be from March 12th. It was a bit of a little slate error. Those are the March 12th minutes. We have a mover and a seconder to receive those. Moved by Councillor Townsend, seconded by Councillor Forrester. Thank you. Any comments, questions? Go ahead, Councillor Townsend. Doug?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just want to make a comment on the police board minutes. It's nice to see the police board finally got its 2 public appointees. That's only taken, what, a couple years? Your mic's off, sir.
Yes, province appoints 2 members to the police services board. Had one that retired just about the time that the council changed. So yeah, that's been about 1.5 years, and surprisingly, second one, her term was up, and she had stepped away for personal reasons. So that one, surprisingly, only took us about 2 months. So maybe they are getting better at it, but it is certainly not something that is unique to West Grey. It's across the province that the provincial government is having, authorities are having trouble appointing people to local police services boards. Good note. Any other questions? Call the question. All those in favor of receiving? Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Correspondence. And we have correspondence which requires direction. Quite an extensive package of correspondence. And then we had one added as well too. And I think it would like to have that one pulled as a letter from Silk Bruce. Yeah, I was going to say we'd pull that one. In the package, we've had the multi-municipal wind one to be looked at. Who pulled that? You want to comment on that one, Jamie?
Through miracles, this item was just presented. It's a request for West Grey to obtain a membership in the multi-municipal energy working group. We'll note that the membership fee for 1 year for a full membership is $500, and for an associate membership, it's $400. If council does not wish to obtain a membership in this group, then a motion to receive these correspondence would be in order.
Okay, how would you like to proceed with this? Everything's fairly quiet. Councillor New, Joyce?
No, thank you, Mayor Eccles. Is it something that we've participated and paid the registration for prior years?
Jamie or Carrie?
No, we have
I don't
not.
see her. Okay. Anyone else? taken it that there's no action to be taken. So we need a motion to receive for information. Moved by Deputy Mayor Hutchison, seconder. Councillor Noon. Thank you, Joyce. So that's been moved and seconded. Any other comments? Everybody's ready to go on that? We'll wait for a second, and this is just a vote on receiving the correspondence for information. Jeffrey, all those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Okay. Rest of the package is there. There was one I would like to have pulled so I can make a comment on it. There was South Bruce Grey Health Services had a letter in the package, some information about the hospital closing. There was some comments or some in that letter that was directed towards myself. I'm going to publicly say, I said it in public, so I'm going to publicly say that I have issued an apology to those that I have offended, and hopefully it will be accepted, and that's a closure on that portion from that. As far as any updates on that correspondence, I think the biggest thing is that there is a public meeting tonight at the Durham Arena. Hopefully everybody can come out to get public updated on the information that is circulating about the closure or the downsizing or the turmoil that is going on with the Association of Health Services on our Durham, on our local hospital, and the ripple effects that that is going to have if it continues to go in the direction that it seems South Bruce Grey is driving it. There's been there is a lot of work going on, and I think a lot of that information will be delivered tonight at the public meeting. So to everybody out there that is watching online and to everybody in the audience, some of you will be going to a public invited public meeting in at the Plume Room in the Mount Forest Sports Complex between 5 and 7, and then you can come back up the highway to Durham to have an open meeting on our hospital, which starts at 7 o'clock. So look forward to that. Anything else on that piece of correspondence? Councillor Noon. Joyce?
I made some notes, but I mean, I can express them tonight as well, but it's just interesting how they found the reasonings to close Durham, but yet there's no dialogue representing the other 3 hospitals and the conditions they're in. So I just found that they're just not really comparing apples to apples when it came to their decision to close the beds or transition the beds to the other hospitals. Thank you.
Yes, they're very sensitive on that language. They're not closing the beds, they're just transitioning them to Walkerton and Kincardine. But have absolutely no direction on when, how they will end up back in Durham when that's resolved. Okay. We need a motion to receive that. Oh, Councillor New.
I'd like to pull item number 13.
Okay. And Jamie, you want to speak to that?
Through your miracles, yes, I've prepared that in consideration of correspondence received from Hastings County respecting sustainable infrastructure funding for small rural municipalities. Council directs staff to send a letter of support for the resolution to Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, Sean Fraser, Minister of Housing, Infrastructure and Communities of Canada, Michelle Tremblay, Acting President and CEO, Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, Kinga Surma, Ontario Minister of Infrastructure, Paul Calandra, Ontario Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, MP Alex Ruff, Bruce Grey Owen Sound, MPP Rick Byers, Bruce Grey Owen Sound, Association of Municipalities Ontario, Rural Ontario Municipal Association, and the Federation of Canadian Municipalities.
Thank you. You want to speak to that, Joyce, before we introduce it? Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. So the correspondence from Hastings County, sustainable infrastructure funding for small rural municipalities. West Gray maintains 733 kilometers of roads, whether they're gravel, surface treatment, and paved. We have 63 bridges and 87 culverts. I would ask that council support Hastings County on the Ontario Federation government to implement sustainable infrastructure funding for small rural municipalities, and that small rural municipalities are not overlooked and disregarded on future applications for funding. We're experiencing more closures of our bridges that are located in high traffic locations that affect the neighboring communities, and the impact on our EMS having to detour around these locations when time is crucial attending to victims in need. And we cannot replace our aging infrastructure on taxes alone. Thank you.
Yeah, on property taxes alone. I think that's definitely a point there, Councillor Noon. We certainly need. Most of that infrastructure was built with some very good funding from previous years from the province, but again, it seems that the province is neglecting that portion of their responsibility for transportation services in the province as a whole and where they fit into it. Okay. Anything else on that? You want to move that motion that Jamie's prepared? Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Deputy Mayor Hutchison. Good. Any further comments on that correspondence from Hastings? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Anything else in the correspondence package? Then you've got the motion and you've got the ones that have been exempted or were pulled and dealt with separately, all of it. So I can word it that all of the correspondence be received for information. Thank you, Scott. You'll make that motion. And Councillor Townsend did second it. Any questions? All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. That's it for correspondence. So we're down to staff reports and community services. Welcome, Manager Hewlett. Cody, 11.1.1, the first one there on page 193, ice and floor allocation policy. What do you have to deal with that?
Thank you, and through you, staff are seeking council approval on implementation of a formal ice and floor allocation time policy, which will help us to better manage user group bookings who are looking for regular reoccurring ice time. So this is for users who want weekly ice time, bi-weekly ice time. It wouldn't be just somebody renting it for a one-off family skate or birthday party. This is for our user groups, our men's groups, our minor hockey organizations. Approval of the attached policies would lead to standardization of floor and ice time bookings, better facility management, and create consistency for user groups in West Gray and minor sports within our catchment areas. This would align with our surrounding municipalities who also use these policies. So it would be consistent across the board for Sauget Valley Minor Hockey when they're booking with all of the different municipalities that they use ice time in. And further to that, we have had preliminary conversations with some of our large ice users, and they are actually excited and looking forward to seeing this policy come into place because it will allow them to centralize their facility bookings as opposed to going through each individual facility as they need to book. I would also like to note that there was a small typo in the policy with the misspelling of the Village of Newstead, and we will have that corrected before it goes live to the public.
Thank you, Cody, for that. Questions? Deputy Mayor, Tom?
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. Just a quick question, just so I'm clear, to Manager Hewitt. So on the weekend, how do we just say there's ice open, somebody calls in, recreational pickup, it doesn't matter. How do they book that if they don't go through the facility anymore? They come through here, just so there's been some questions on that.
Thank you, through
Go
you. This policy or the process will be done before the ice season starts. Individuals looking to do those kind of pickup of ice time, once the ice is allocated, they're still able to go through the facility directly.
Everyone's got the mic on. Okay, so I didn't I couldn't hear all that. So we still will be going directly to the arenas and facilities, whatever it is, on the weekends when nobody's here to, that's what I heard. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear it. Thank you.
Yes, that's correct, through you. But when minor hockey is looking to do their, not minor hockey, any user group looking to do their ice bookings, they want their Tuesday night rental from 7:30 to 10:30. That's going to flow through this form.
Any other questions on this? I think it'll certainly help us on the clarity as we are running floor three buildings and keeping everything consistent would be great, and everybody up to date on what's where and who. Good. Go ahead, Cody.
And if I can speak further, our intent with this policy is to first start with our ice allocation, get that up and running smoothly, and then we will then move into our floor allocation as well.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay. Anything else? You got a motion prepared for this, Jamie? Recommendation? Yep. If somebody would want to move the recommendation that's in the report, Councillor Townsend and Councillor New. Thank you. Any further questions on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Wes Gray Signature Event Series. Follow up on that. Cody.
Thank you, and through you, just to report for council's information, just to follow up, as we have been running our signature event series for a number of years now, and we are just very proud to announce that in a given year, we have an estimated attendance at our events of approximately 10,000 individuals. We have built 85 community partnerships into that. We have a media reach of over 51,000 individual viewers, and we have a positive economic impact of about $220,000 a year. With that, I would estimate that to be much higher, but that is just based off of the preliminary numbers that we're able to pull. Also further to this report, as council is aware, we just had our spring craft show in Newstead. We were able to expand that show by 20% this year, moving it from about 90 vendors to almost 120 vendors. And we had a estimated attendance of close to 700 shoppers through the door, and had nothing but great feedback from all of our vendors and individuals attending the event. And I would also like to extend a thanks to the community and all of our community service organizations for their support of these events as well, because they would not be possible without them partnering with us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a great shout out to the Newstead Lions Club for running the food booth there. I was down to the event. It was busy. The darn weather being nice and whatnot, it was maybe a little more difficult to get people inside the on a bright sunny day, but yeah, the activities and from the vendors portion, it was well attended. So we'll be happy. That's great that we're having these events and supplying the need that is out there for the community for these events and services. So the recommendation is there. We received this for information. We have a mover for that. Moved by Councillor Townsend, second by Deputy Mayor Hutchison. So we received the recommendation. And any other questions? Joyce. Councillor New.
Thank you. How do you generate the estimated positive economic impact? Where do you get those figures from?
So we get those figures from consultation with our community partners, looking at the average spending of individuals when they're attending events, if there was any admission fees, those sorts of things.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Shea. Jeff.
Just curious, these are titled signature events. Why these for and not things like Fall Fair or Arts Fest?
This report is just focusing on events that West Gray ourselves run. Arts Fest, Fall Fairs, those are run by arm's length organizations of us.
Okay. Got that moved and seconded, Jimmy. Call the question then. All those in favor? That is carried. Okay. You're busy today. Mr. Hewlett. Number 3, park refurbishment. We can look at that being a splash pad. Go ahead, Cody.
Thank you, and through you, as council is aware, we have recently partnered, or not recently, it's been in the work for a number of years now, but construction has recently started in partnership with the Durham Homecoming Committee for park refurbishment of the Durham Town Hall Park for the installation of a splash pad. With that park redesign and installation, we did have to move the playground structure that was currently on site. At the time, we were aware of the age of the structure, but we're hopeful that the condition was better than it is. With that being said, we have completed our annual inspections of the playground, and up to date, they have been passing inspection with flying colors and fine. However, when the park was dismantled, we became aware of the condition of the playground that was not so positive. So staff are seeking direction from council on replacement of the playground. With that, we're requesting to access up to $50,000 from reserve, $20,000 coming from the town of Durham, Durham Town Hall Park Reserve, $20,000 from Parkland Dedication, and $10,000 coming from the former Durham Recreation Reserve. So with this park refurbishment, there would be no hit to the tax base.
Questions? You're a little hesitant there, Jeffrey. Joyce is ahead of you. Councillor Noon. Joyce?
Thank you. The 50,000 from reserve, what catch-all reserve account would that be? Like is there like just like a GL reserve for any entity to pull from?
Carrie?
As indicated in the report, we're proposing 3 different reserves. We have a Durham Town Hall Playground Equipment Reserve, the Parkland Dedication Reserve, and then the former Durham Recreation Fundraising Reserve. So a combination of those 3 is what is being proposed.
So the total of those 3, I see that I was thinking it's 50 plus. So I was looking at the 100,000, not 50. Thank you.
Mr. Hewlett's bold, but he's not going to be asking for that much. Thank you. Councillor Shea. Jeff?
As part of this refurbishment, I understand that there were some trees removed. When you were first presenting this a couple of months ago, you indicated that there would be some trees would need it to be removed, and it seems that all trees have been removed in the actual park area itself. There's still some along the river, which I assume is not technically part of the park, part of the river. So I've heard that there were reasons that the trees were removed, that they weren't in good shape. It seems disappointing that all of the trees needed to be removed. So my question is, how did that come about? And secondly, what are we going to do to remedy that?
Thank you, and through you, while we were hopeful that some of the trees were going to be able to remain in the park, when we had tree condition assessments done, the condition of the trees was much worse than originally anticipated. So if they were not removed with this current construction, they would have been removed very soon after. Majority of the trees only had 1 to 2 years left in their lifetime. With that being said, we do have commitment from our partner in this construction project that for every tree removed, there will be a minimum of 1 tree replanted to help counteract the impact on that.
Thank you. That's good to hear. I think I counted 7 stumps. Somebody else said 11, but so you said that there was an assessment done of the trees and this was the determination. And you said that after the playground equipment was removed, or while it was being removed, it was assessed and deemed not salvageable. I wished we had done these assessments before we approved this project. In future, I think when we're going to approve or consider an initiative brought to us by a group like Homecoming or Lions or whomever, people who are dedicated and committed to improving our community, when these projects are brought to us that we will support and then take ownership of after it's completed. I think we need to be more thorough in our assessment and examination of the project so that we don't end up taking on something that turns out to be twice as big or half as beneficial as we were initially hoping. So I think I feel personally that I've learned a lesson in this, and I'm hoping that council and staff may also have learned a lesson. Thank you.
Again, any further comments, Deputy Mayor Tom?
Thank you, Mayor Echols. Just for clarity, I thought we kind of had a little bit of a conversation around this, but I think with the assessment after or during the disassembly, you found extra or additional problem, but I think it was okay at the time under that review. Is that how that unfolded? Because I thought we did an assessment before we went into that. Just I want to be clear in my own mind, and then again, when they started taking it apart, they found problems.
That's absolutely correct. So we have annual parks inspections done annually, as well as staff are consistently checking the condition of the park while we're doing our regular maintenance. It was only when the playground was removed that we became aware of the in-ground infrastructure for the playground, that it is not where it needed to be, as well as when the playground was dismantled, the main deck surfacing became essentially it separated from the rest of the structure. With that being said, there are a number of pieces in that playground that can be reinstalled. We are just speaking of the main playground structure today. So the U-shaped monkey bars, spring toys, teeter-totters, and swing set, those are still in excellent condition and will be reinstalled. It is just the main park structure.
So basically what you're saying is we can use this when we took Humpty Dumpty, we couldn't put Humpty Dumpty back together again.
I've used that direct analogy referring to this playground, yes.
Okay, all right. Anything else? Councillor Townsend.
One more question, Cody, and it's kind of maybe an aside to all this and maybe speaks to some of what Councillor Shea was talking about with the trees. We do an annual tree assessment. I guess, do we? Or because that's the problem. You don't want to get the tree. We don't want the trees to turn into a liability. If a limb breaks off or whatever, a tree comes down on somebody or on the playground or whatever. So we need to stay on top of the liability. As much as trees are nice, we have to stay on top of the liability end of having trees also.
Thank you. And through you, we do not do an annual full tree assessment. We're typically doing them as we're looking at different projects in our parks. However, with that being said, when I am out boots on the ground in parks as well as any of our facility staff. We are often doing our own visual inspections of everything going on in that park and making note of what needs to be done, what's not looking right, and what needs to be on our radar in the coming years.
And I think if I can add to that, probably the Newstead Lions Park is one that has those issues right at the present moment. Something that is the emerald ash borer, because that's probably where we have the most ash trees, and yeah, they look good this year, but by next year they're dead. So there has been some of those ones taken out for those reasons as well too, going forward. Cody?
And if I may further to that comment, we have noticed a number of concerns specifically in the Newstead Lions Park that are on our radar. And we will be reaching out to contractors to help better manage that. It should be noted for council's consideration that a lot of these reports and pre-planning for these projects would also be done if we were to ever take on a Parks and Recreation master plan. So
good segue into that one. Councillor Hutchison's not here today. Okay. All right. So we do have had a very good discussion about this and doing that. I just want to get clarity from Madam Acting CEO, Director of Finance. It's more of a financial one. Pulling these ones from reserve and putting it in will not affect our budget. How's that going to work if we do this? Because it certainly is unbudgeted at this point in time. Carrie?
Correct, through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, this was not a budgeted item, but because we're looking at pulling it from the 3 different reserves, it would not affect the tax levy or the bottom line. We're fully funding it proposing to fully fund it from those 3 reserves, should council wish to go ahead.
Councillor Noon, Joyce?
Thank you. And so with this 50,000, you've looked at replacing, I know you've in your report, you'd say, it's a picture, but it's not true to what you're replacing. So 50,000 would cover basically like what it is reflecting, like, just because I know like from other projects in communities in past years, like replacing playground equipment is not a cheap venture. So I just wanted to ensure that 50,000 is going to, provide kind of what was there currently for that park.
thank you for the question, and through you. This project is exactly that. It is a retrofit or refurbishment. So we would be replacing with a like structure that was already there, because as we know, the community has taken great pride in that structure, and we would like to replace it with something similar. The playground that is the example photos outlined in the report, that would fit within the budget of the project. However, we are currently working with contractors to get the best bang for our buck in terms of the playground placement. So that structure that is there would fit within the allotted budget for the project. However, we are working with different contractors to see what is the most cost-effective reinstallation.
Okay. Didn't we? No, we still haven't got anybody to move it. Sorry, I asked a question over there and got distracted. With that information in place, council want to endorse, and so can I have somebody that would like to move the motion? Councillor Shea, thank you. Seconder? Councillor Townsend. Thank you. Questions on the motion? Councillor Shea.
For the, I've forgotten your title, Carrie. Financial officer?
Yeah, yeah. Lady of many titles.
Yes, it's a financial question related to the splash pad. I don't know if it's entirely fits within the agenda item. The water bill for the splash pad, would that be coming, would the municipality taxpayers pay that into the water account? Because I know they're separate.
Yes, through you, Mayor. Yes, that's correct. Similar to how any of our, if it's the Ball Diamond Pavilion, the soccer pavilion, the water bill for this new splash pad, the tax base pays that as the user or the owner into the water sewer system.
And I think it was estimated to be around the equivalent of 45 households. So do you have an estimate of what that would be? And would it be year round or only while it's in operation?
When it's not in operation, it would be a minimum water bill. And then when it's operating, it would be based on that consumption flowing through the meter. It will have a meter on it, so it will be a accurate reflection of what it's using.
And the minimum would be close to around 30,000 a month or 30,000 a year. I'm thinking of like 50 households, 600 a household.
Are you talking about cubic meters or
dollars?
Oh, $30,000? No, we weren't anticipating that high of.
I'm gonna say it's 1 meter. This is kind of off the topic here on how this is going to be, but it's 1 meter. It may, the volume going through may equal at times 45 houses, but it's only the minimum for 1 meter. So yeah, whatever the minimal charge is, 160 some odd dollars. So for 6 months, it's going to be 160. When it's in use, it will be on the metered basis, whatever that will work out to. Yeah. Okay. Let's get back to working on the motion. Yeah, I'm still within reach and Jamie's going to slap me if we get too far off here. Okay. That all information. Motion has been moved and seconded. Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Thank you. Thank you, Cody. Not this for an hour and 20 minutes. Do you want to take a quick little break? We'll recess for 7.5 minutes, or do we round it off to a 10? 7 3/4. No, we're going to go to 10 minutes. Okay, we'll see you back. Yeah, 10:20. Okay. That's 10 minutes exactly. Thank you, Ashley. We're back up and running again. And brings us down to 11.2 on staff reports. Director of Legislative Services, Clerk Jamie. Your first one is on the amendment to the refreshment vehicle licensing bylaw.
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. This report is exactly as you said, an amendment to the refreshment vehicle licensing bylaw. So presently, refreshment vehicles are only permitted to operate on land zoned as commercial, industrial, or institutional. In the recent past, West Grey is seeing increased requests for temporary refreshment vehicle licenses for private events such as weddings in residential zones. At present, the only way for an individual to obtain a license to operate in a residential zone is to make a request before council and then have council decide as to whether or not that license will be granted. So amending the refreshment vehicle licensing bylaw to permit temporary licenses of 1 week or less in residential zones or other zones that aren't currently permitted in the zone in the refreshment vehicle bylaw would further reduce that red tape and could potentially increase revenues for West Grey through the licensing of temporary refreshment vehicles. The requirement for refreshment vehicles to be located in commercial, industrial, or institutional zones would still apply to yearly licenses, being those operating for more than 1 week.
We're cutting red tape. What a great thing. Any questions on the report? Scott, Councillor Forster.
All right, is the refreshment vehicle different than the food truck?
Through Mayor Eccles, no, that's this is the technical term in the bylaw. It's they're deemed as refreshment vehicles, but essentially, yes, it's a food truck.
Okay, any other questions on this? And I think, yeah, it's said it's got to come before council, and obviously we only meet once a week. Sometimes in the summer, we're down to once a month meetings, and for those types of family functions that, whoops, I can't see us denying one of them, but certainly get that be better for evolving this. And it's not a huge, I want to counter Jamie saying I don't think it's a huge money raiser for us or whatnot, anything of that nature, but being able to recognize and help out the community with this type of function. Good. Any other questions? So you want to move the motion, move the recommendation, moved by the Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Hutchison. Seconded by Councillor Forster. Thank you, Scott. Any further questions on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? That is carried unanimously. Okay. Thank you, Jamie. Next one. Newstead Brewery endorsement of By the Glass liquor license application. Well, they're a brewery. Jamie, please. This one's great.
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. The Newstead Brewery is currently in the process of applying for a liquor license to sell their distilled products by the glass in their tasting room. Currently, they are licensed to distill spirits on premises in addition to brewing beer. Their license allows them currently to sell beer that they brew on site in their tasting room. However, in order to sell their distilled products, they need an additional by the glass liquor license. As part of that process, the AGCO requires that the applicant submit an endorsement letter from council along with their application in order for that to be considered. So this report is before you to seek that endorsement by council for Newstead Brewery to submit along with their application.
Councillor Townsend?
I'd gladly make that motion.
Just by the glass, though, remember, that's what you're moving. Okay. All right, the recommendation there is to endorse that is what their Newstead Brewery is looking for us and how we can help them out. Councillor Townsend moves that. Councillor Noon will second that. Thank you very much. And any comments? Councillor Shay, Jeff?
Does anyone applying for liquor license need an endorsement from council, or is it just because they're a brewery or?
Three Miracles, not particularly, no. So the reason why they do in this case is because they're distilling their product on site and they want to sell that product that they're distilling themselves in their tasting room. And in order to do that, they need that endorsement by council. So if someone was just selling alcohol through a special occasion permit, they wouldn't need an endorsement by council. Depending on the situation, they would need a declaration of municipal significance, which has been delegated to staff. But I would say no, most often an endorsement by council is not required.
When they say tasting room, they mean whatever they take that to mean. I think they have an outdoor serving area as well.
Three Miracles, yes, that is correct. So this would apply to their licensed patio area outside as well as their internal restaurant area at the brewery.
I don't know whether am I the only one that finds it strange that, Westgrade, we're trying to cut in the last report, we were cutting through red tape. And here we're endorsing more red tape by the province that, yep, you've got every application you can certainly brew it, distill it on site and everything like that, move it off and sell it through the liquor store. But on site, you can't serve it until you get this little piece of red tape. Anyway, we'll move it forward, I think, for them. My recommendation is to support this, the ridiculousness of red tape. Okay, any other questions on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. All right. That moves us, we're finished with staff reports. Then down to questions. Anybody have any questions on anything that's on the agenda? Councillor Noon, Joyce?
Previously with the splash pad, the Durham Homecoming group had made a presentation about looking into the costing of using municipal water or just using water that would be recirculated, and the pros and cons on each. And we had given the approval for municipal. So I'm just wondering if the spin-off to that, would council consider maybe because of the amount of water they use that we could maybe provide some sewer relief on that? I'm just trying to think in past experience if we've given some leverage with sewer relief on some other accounts. And I'm wondering this soccer club, if we did. I was just wondering if there was something that we could do to help cut costs, but then in the other aspect of it, that money in sewer helps offset maintenance and future capital needs as well. So it's just one consideration.
I'm looking towards the Director of Finance.
Yeah, I'd have to look at the water sewer bylaw, whether there's anything in there. I don't recall that we've done it in the past, but I'd have to look into that further. And it's not the organization; it is Westgrade that pays it into the water sewer system. So it's not the homecoming committee that will be paying the water bill, but we can look at that once we get an idea of the volumes of consumption that they're using there.
Further, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I realize it's not the homecoming that would pay for it. It's just they brought that forward before they started their initial installation, so they know how, with that setup, whether it's municipal or like for meter, for that. Anyways, another question I had then, when the Durham Homecoming Committee come and brought forward their initial requests to install the playground equipment, or sorry, the splash pad. The cost involved, they were using their homecoming funding for it, and I believe we gave a municipal contribution to it. I just can't remember at the top what it was. But I believe there was additional costs that the Durham Homecoming or that committee was going to look after to look after the remainder of the costing for the splash pad. If I could just get some clarification on that. Thank you.
Yes, the municipality committed some of our eligible development charges towards the project, and the committee is still fundraising for the additional amount. They did have funds from the homecoming event, but they are continuing to fundraise for the balance outside of what council had committed. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess to make it clear for everybody out there, council, if there is overruns and whatnot, how that's going to be done, it's being led by that committee. Council's in for this amount and this amount only. They're working towards that. I believe that they've met their revenue goals on that. Now it's, can they keep the expenses within that revenue that they have? But they've committed that if it does go over, they'll fundraise and try to find, create ways to cover that off if it does go over. So they've done amazing work, and I think that they'll be able to bring that one in, as we've seen some contracts float lately. And those inflationary prices are not as extreme as what they were 4 or 5 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. Good. Any other questions? Councilor Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'm not sure whether this fits in or not. Our most recent bridge closure in West Gray. Is there any update on that, or will that be coming at a separate time?
I think that Director Akins will have a report on that coming up at the next council meeting. I take it you're referring to the one on concession 18 off of Gray Road 3. Yeah. Unforeseen, but he'll be bringing us a report on that and the update and what where we're going to go with it. Okay. And I guess some further to that, it will be closed indefinitely until it can be replaced. As one of the main girder beams underneath is not just rusted, it's broke. So just thankful that it was caught in time before a truck or a tractor, or even a passenger vehicle went through the bridge deck. Okay. No other questions? Bylaws. We have 3 bylaws on there. The process is that we can we're going to pass this one separately. Oh. But it only says one up here in the title. No, don't look at that part. Okay, thank you. That bylaw number 2024-040, 041 and 042 be passed and enacted. Do we have a mover for the bylaws today? Councillor Forrester and Deputy Mayor. Hutchison, any questions or comments on the bylaws? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you. New business. Do we have any new business to look after? Not that I'm aware of. Staff, no. Councilors, no. Announcements. One thing I'm going to jump on first. A few people have noticed in the front lobby, Nicole Herbert, our environmental manager. She's got a number of titles as well too, but in the lobby we have a couple of pieces of equipment. One, rain barrels, and two, organics compost, backyard compost barrels that we're pushing and promoting out there. Can be picked up here at the office or ordered here through the office and picked up or delivery. What we're not 100% sure on, but if anybody is in need of a rain barrel, because it is to that season for watering flowers and gardens and tomato plants on your deck or wherever, the rain barrels will be available there through the municipality. Am I correct in saying that, Carrie?
They're not available at the office here, but they can be ordered online directly through. We've partnered with a company for the rain barrels. They can be ordered directly. If we get an order of 50, then they will be available at the landfill for pickup, or there is an extra fee for the company to deliver it directly to your address. But it is purchased directly through the company we've partnered with for the rain barrels. We do have our composters, but those we have to update our fees and charges bylaw before they're available for sale. But stay tuned, they will be available shortly.
Thank you for the clarification. And the other announcement was the dog park opening on Saturday. A number of councillors were there. Thank you for participating in that. The Lions Club took on that project, and I think from the community support that was there on Saturday, a lovely asset for the community. And when I got there, there was dogs. We opened the gate, and when I left, the dogs were still playing. I think it will be a fine feature for the community at large. Any other announcements? Joyce?
Well, thank you. I attended the Good Roads Conference on April 21st through to the 24th. Sunday, we arrived, I registered and then viewed the trade show and attended the opening reception. Monday, I attended the opening of the 2024 Good Roads Conference. There were award presentations, greetings from various dignitaries, presentations on creating more walkable communities, revitalize asset management strategies, update on Ontario's Minister of Transportation. I attended the Association of Ontario Road Supervisors annual general meeting. Or announced that the province of Ontario's Ministry of Labour, Training and Immigration supported the funding to students enrolled in the Municipal Equipment and Operators course in 2024 through the Skills Development Fund. That is something that we had supported through our correspondence. On Tuesday, Ontario Good Roads conducted their annual meeting, an interesting fireside chat with Premier Ford on funding and infrastructure enhancements. Very GTA-focused deliberations. I enjoyed the presentations and speaker on Catherine Hayhoe on mitigate, adapt, and suffer, connecting global change to local impacts and solutions. If you have an opportunity to go online and see that, it's just incredible. She's a scientist and professional. I attended the information session on low volume roads, challenges and innovations in rural transportation. Some food for thought. Some municipals apply gravel every 3 years. I had some discussions with our Director of Infrastructure. He doesn't really recommend it, but something I'd like to look further into. Another session I attended was Safer Journeys, Enhancing Rural Road Safety. Later in the Convention Center, update on the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, presentation on dangers by design. They provided interesting traffic flow designs that do not meet safe regulations, and another presentation on benefits of recycled aggregate materials. On Wednesday, installation of Good Roads President, the Municipal Paving Award, Honorable Kenga Surma, Minister of Transportation or Infrastructure, gave an overview of Ontario funding. Other presentations on a perspective from Canada's conventional oil and gas sector, economic opportunities, and global emissions reductions. Ontario Road Safety and Infrastructure Perception Survey, and the final work panel. I did not attend the closing session as Westgrave participated in a joint delegation with Georgian Bluffs, taking the lead on the presentation. City of Owen Sound, Town of Hanover, and the Municipality of Southgate. We met with the parliamentary assistant at 11:20 regarding funding for infrastructure. Our needs were well presented and well received. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that detailed report, Joyce. And I didn't attend, but I also heard that the conference was the 400 series highways and large urban centric at this point in time. There seems to be more roads in rural Ontario, but they're not being looked at in the same lens. Leave it at that. Joyce?
I don't know if there's any conference center north of the GTA, maybe around the Collingwood area, that maybe that they should look at hosting and get those dignitaries up this way to see how beautiful rural Ontario really is.
Yeah. Yeah. Councillor Townsend saying, and in January too. Okay, again, thanks for that report, and I think that shows that there's a lot, there certainly is a lot of information there and whatnot. Sometimes it's very succinct, 2 hours, and some of the conferences, not quite as much, but still an excellent report. Councillor Townsend.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Saugeen Hospice, our local hospice for this end of Grey Bruce County, held its first Hike for Hospice this past Sunday up at the conservation area. Thank you to the mayor for attending and opening that event. We had close to 50 hikers, raised close to $20,000. So very good for our first attempt at that, and a lot of great things that are going to be coming out of that, and a bigger and better event next year. I'd like to thank Jen Wright, one of the local coordinators, for all her work on that, and her RBC crew for all the help those folks do. Lucretia Schaefer was another local one, and Wendy Beeman, local ladies that were there on Sunday helping out, and it was very well attended, very well organized. Saugeen Hospice has a volunteer organizational group that do a bang up job at all these fundraising events, and something we can look forward to a presentation from them at some point in the future when we start looking at some funding for the actual build of the Saugeen Hospice. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anything else? Councillor Forrester. Scott?
All right, there's a lot of events coming up. Check out our community calendar on our website, but the Durham Horticulture Society is having a plant sale May 18th at Riverside Park, 9 till noon. The Elmwood Chamber Wing Night, Friday, May 17th, 9 to 5 at the community center. Our hospital rally tonight at the community center at 7 p.m. Then there's also a rally to save healthcare in Owen Sound at City Hall, Saturday, May 11th, 9 till noon.
Well, it doesn't leave me much to say. Thank you very much, Scott. You got it all covered. Oh, thanks, Scott. One thing I think we've already said, the Newstead Craft Show was a great success coming up. One of the ones that in Newstead, of course, for the Lions Club, mentioning them, is their annual 38th, maybe it's 48 years that they've been doing the Lobster Fest there. Last Saturday in May, always was it is, and again on this year. Tickets are for sale. And had the opportunity to join some of the fellow council members. Were there on Saturday night where the Normanby Optimist put on a murder mystery, their spring murder mystery and whatnot. We did finally find who committed the crime, but right up until the end, I felt like I got written into the script somehow or another, and I thought that I was going to be the murderer, but nope, they found somebody else. A very, very enjoyable evening and a great meal put on by the Optimists there, and their work within the community as a volunteer group is exemplary down in the Ayton Normanby corner. What they do there is great, especially for the community and for they're more dedicated to the youth than anything else. And apparently we found out, Scott, Joyce, they've got their own bank and they're starting to issue their own money, but the director of finance says it won't be accepted here at the municipal office at this point in time. Yeah, fun evening for sure. Anything else? No? All right. That's it for announcements. I guess the other big thing, and you did mention it, Scott, Councillor Forrester, tonight's meeting put on by the local Save the Hospital group are hosting that at the Durham Arena in the Arena Hall. Hopefully everybody that is possible. We're looking for a big crowd, but be able to give us an update on what is being done to try and convince South Bruce Grey Health Services and Ministry of Health to keep our hospital open and delivering the health services that our community needs to continue to be viable and safe and healthy place to live in West Grey. Thank you. That brings us down to, we do have a closed session. We haven't had many of these, but certainly there are some things that have come in place that we do need to go into closed session today to discuss a couple of matters. So I have a motion that council now moves into closed session to consider A, minutes of closed session of the regular council meeting held on February 20th, 2024. One matter regarding personal matters about an identifiable individuals respecting an appointment to the Durham Cemetery Board, and C, one matter regarding a proposed or pending disposition of land by the municipality respecting municipal land in the former Gunnell Township. Do we have a mover and a seconder for us to move into closed session with those items? Councillor Townsend and Councillor Noon. Any questions on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Jamie, who's the staff that will be staying? Just Carrie and I? Okay. Thank you, Ashley, for getting us back into open session. And welcome back, everybody out there that is joining in. During a closed session, council reviewed minutes of the closed session of the regular council meeting held on February 20th, 2024. Discussed one matter regarding personal matters about identifiable individuals respecting appointments to the Durham Cemetery Board, and direction was provided to staff. And discussed one matter regarding a proposed or pending disposition of land respecting municipal land in the former Goodell Township, and direction is provided to staff. Okay. And Jamie, we'll need a motion. That's it for close. We don't need anything else going forward. There's no actions to be taken from any of that. Very good. That must mean we're pretty much at adjournment. I think with all matters discussed and dealt with on the agenda, I declare we're adjourned. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for joining in and participating today. You good with that, Ashley?